The shuttle docked smoothly at Orbitus Prime, the heart of galactic diplomacy. Outside the viewport, the massive station floated in the void, its surface covered in glowing rings, docking bays, and silver towers that pierced the artificial gravity field like glass needles. It orbited a dead star, long since collapsed, chosen for its neutrality. No planet claimed it, and no species had a natural advantage here. Commander James Carter stood in full uniform, arms folded behind his back, staring out the glass wall of the docking bay. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight. Years in Earth's military had taught him to mask emotion, but this mission, this return, was different. He wasn't coming as a soldier. He was coming as Earth's voice, and right now, Earth was tired of being ignored. Behind him, aides moved quickly, gathering data pads and confirming their agenda. James didn't look back. He was thinking about the last time he had been here 12 years ago. Back then, he was a war advisor during the Archon Rift conflict, helping negotiate a ceasefire between two alien factions. His efforts had been praised. Earth had been respected. Now, things had changed. The Galactic Council chamber was deep within the core of the station. As Carter and his team approached, the halls grew quieter, more formal. Alien species passed by, tall, thinly rans with skin like stone. Insect-like Thallery, who clicked softly as they walked. The cold, emotionless Varn, whose voices sounded like distant echoes. All of them glanced at Carter. Some nodded politely. Others looked away. The council chamber was vast, circular, with rows of floating platforms that formed concentric rings around a central pillar where the speaker presided. Each platform belonged to a species. Earth's was near the outer ring now, a sign of how far their influence had fallen. Years ago, they had sat close to the center. Carter stepped onto Earth's platform. The lights above dimmed slightly. A deep hum filled the air as the speaker rose. An enormous figure with 4 arms, scaled skin, and a voice like thunder muffled by fog. Vartok, supreme speaker of the council, hovered at the center. "Earth may speak," he said in Galactic Standard. Carter didn't flinch. He tapped a button on his console. His voice echoed calmly across the chamber. "Honored delegates," he began, "I stand here not to threaten, but to remind. Earth has honored its promises. We have contributed to peacekeeping. We have paid our dues. We have suffered losses in wars not our own. And yet, every request we make is delayed, debated, or denied." Whispers filled the chamber. A few delegates turned to each other, but Vartok raised a hand. Silence returned. "We ask," Carter continued, "for equal access to defensive technologies already shared among council members. We request a vote on this proposal." Vartok's expression did not change. "The matter is complicated," he said slowly. "Such technologies are sensitive. Their distribution may cause instability." "In whose eyes?" Carter asked, his tone steady. "Earth has stood by this council through war, famine, and rebellion. We have shown loyalty. We now ask for fairness." Vartok turned to the other delegates. "We shall vote." It was quick. One by one, lights turned red. A few blinked yellow, abstaining. Only 3 turned green. Earth's request was denied. Again, Carter didn't show anger, but his voice grew colder. "Noted," he said simply. He shut off the mic. As the meeting ended, he walked out of the chamber, aides trailing silently behind. In the hallway, one of them, Lena, his chief advisor, spoke up. "We knew it might fail, sir, but not by that much." Carter stopped, looked at her, then at the distant view of the galaxy through the window. "They don't listen anymore," he said quietly. "Maybe it's time we stopped speaking." The stars outside blinked, uncaring. The council had spoken, and Earth had been silenced again. Commander James Carter returned to his quarters on Orbitus Prime with a heavy heart and a sharpened resolve. The walls of his residence were lined with sleek panels and holographic displays, all humming softly. It was a place designed for comfort, but James found no comfort in it. He removed his jacket and sat at the edge of the metallic desk near the window. Outside, the stars glowed like distant memories. He stared at them, hands folded tightly, jaw clenched. For all their talk of unity, the council was no different from a crowd of kings guarding their crowns. Every species had its own interests. Earth, once strong, now stood on the edge of that circle, watched, tolerated, but never trusted. A chime interrupted his thoughts. The door slid open, and Lena entered. Her short dark hair was still wind-tossed from their walk through the corridor. She was holding a datapad. "We've received council transcripts," she said, "and internal communication logs." Vartok spoke to several delegations before the vote. James turned to her slowly. "He lobbied against us?" "Yes, sir." Quietly but directly, he warned others that giving Earth access to advanced defense systems could destabilize sectors and risk a human military resurgence. James stood, fists tightening at his sides. "They still think we're a threat." Lena nodded. "They remember the Titan Rebellion and the Mars blockade. They see your military record and think we're waiting to start another war." "But we didn't," James said sharply. "We helped end those wars. We protected the colonies when no one else did. We followed every council rule. And now they're using our past to chain us," she replied. There was a pause between them. The quiet of the station crept back into the room. James broke the silence. "Schedule a private call to the security delegates of the Ison Coalition and the Vitraxi Union. I want to speak to them directly." "They're both allies of Vartok," Lena warned. "They were," James said, "but they rely on Earth's trade. Let's remind them of that." Later that day, in one of the council's private hollow conference chambers, James met with Ison and Vitraxi representatives. Their projections flickered into view, one like a tall, eyeless tree with glowing veins, the other like a coiled serpent made of crystal shards. James didn't waste time. "Earth seeks only what is fair. We supported both of your species during the Proxima famine. We shared tech and medicine. If our support counted then, it should count now." The Ison delegate responded first, voice slow and echoing. "We remember, but the council believes it must limit risks." "What risk?" James demanded. "We've never threatened anyone. We've done nothing but help. The only thing that's changed is that we're tired of begging." The Vitraxi's voice chimed in, soft and metallic. "We agree that Earth has been patient, but the speaker is persuasive. He warned us that arming Earth would draw lines in space. Some are afraid you might lead a block." James looked directly at them both. "If we ever lead anything, it will be because you drove us to it." There was silence. Then the projections vanished. No promises, no agreements, just more shadows of power. Back in his quarters, James met with his full delegation. They sat around a circular table. The mood was tense. Some of them looked tired. Others looked angry. One of the younger aides, Malik, leaned forward. "Sir, the more we push, the more they dig in. What if this becomes permanent?" "It already is," James said flatly. "They've made up their minds about us. All that's left is for us to make up ours." He stood, and the room quieted. "For too long, we believed that cooperation meant silence, that unity meant giving up our say. But if the price of their peace is our obedience, then maybe we don't belong at their table anymore." Lena looked at him, hesitant. "If we leave, Earth will stand alone." James turned to her. "Maybe, but at least we'll be standing." The delegates nodded slowly. For the first time, they understood what was coming. James walked to the window again. The stars hadn't moved, but something inside him had. Orbitus Prime never slept. Its artificial daylight cycled every few hours, but the work of the Galactic Council went on without pause. Diplomats, aides, and officials from hundreds of species filled the station's halls, exchanging whispers and decisions behind closed doors. Yet beneath the surface, something darker stirred, movements no one spoke about, but everyone felt. Commander James Carter stood in the intelligence chamber of Earth's consulate. The walls around him were lined with secure screens and thick shielding to block outside signals. Lena stood beside him, holding a datapad. Her face was tight with concern. "We intercepted a burst transmission from the Council's Internal Security Division," she said. "It wasn't meant for us." James raised an eyebrow. "What did it say?" She tapped the pad, and a projection appeared. It showed a map of the star systems near Earth's territory. Several fleet markers blinked in red. Council warships. Dozens of them. "They've started moving patrol fleets toward the Sol sector," Lena said quietly. James studied the map. The red icons were still far, but too many were headed in one direction. There's no official statement, she continued. No press release. Just silent mobilization. James crossed his arms. They say we're the threat, but they're the ones surrounding us with guns. It's meant to intimidate us, Lena said. Make us think twice before taking any action. James turned away from the screen. Or they're preparing for something worse. Later that day, James met with his advisors in the consulate strategic planning room. The mood was different now. The usual calm professionalism was replaced with tension and sharp glances. We can't pretend anymore, said Colonel Harper, Earth's defense liaison. This is not just about politics. The Council is treating Earth like an enemy. They fear we'll leave, Malik added. And they fear what we'll become if we do. James leaned over the table. Then they're right to be afraid. He paused, then looked around at each of them. But we won't act out of fear. We'll act out of strength. We'll be ready for anything they try to do. Harper nodded. Earth's fleet has been put on high alert. We've started rotating defense satellites into outer orbit positions. Quietly, but efficiently. James nodded. Good. No threats. No posturing. Just readiness. The next council session was colder than usual. Vartok stood at the center of the chamber, his expression unreadable. Carter sat silently in Earth's seat, watching the other delegates. Whispers passed from platform to platform, but no one dared speak openly. Then Vartok spoke. There are rumors of disruption, he said, voice echoing through the hall. Of factions forming. Of species losing faith in the Council's leadership. Let it be known, such division will not be tolerated. Peace must be preserved. He didn't name anyone. He didn't have to. Every eye turned to James Carter. Carter activated his mic, voice calm and clear. Peace must be earned, speaker, not forced. And unity is not real if it's built on silence. The speaker did not respond. Instead, he moved on to the next agenda item, ignoring Earth's statement entirely. After the session, James walked through the hallways of Orbitus Prime. Lena caught up to him, her face pale. Sir, she said, holding out a small device. Encrypted transmission. Source, Earth Command. James took it, press play. A voice crackled through the speaker. Commander Carter, this is Admiral Ruiz. Be advised, unmarked Council ships have crossed into neutral territory near the Oort line. No fire exchanged. Yet. Orders. James lowered the device, face hardening. Tell them to hold the line. Do not provoke, but prepare for the worst. That night, alone in his quarters, James sat by the window again. The stars looked different now. Colder. Closer. Like watchers in the dark. They had sent him here to preserve Earth's voice. But the Council had stopped listening. And now, the galaxy itself was shifting quietly but dangerously. Something was coming. He could feel it. Orbitus Prime moved through the dead star's orbit like a ghost, silent, immense, and cold. Commander James Carter stood at the center of Earth's consulate war room, staring at a large screen. It displayed a live feed from Earth's moon. Defense satellites drifted into new positions. Shipyards lit up with activity. The quiet preparations had begun. Status. James asked. Colonel Harper, arms folded, replied. All systems in motion. No council violations, no alerts triggered. But they'll notice soon. James nodded without taking his eyes off the screen. Let them. The air was tense. Every person in the room understood what these moves meant. Earth was preparing, not to attack, but to leave. And if they were forced to defend themselves after leaving, they would be ready. Lena entered, datapad in hand. Her voice was softer than usual. You should see this. She handed the pad to James. A new directive had passed in the Council. Without debate, without announcement. All member species requesting access to shared tech or defense protocols must now submit to an extended evaluation process. James skimmed it. The new policy effectively blocked Earth, and only Earth, from any future military upgrades. They had changed the rules without speaking a word to him. He sat down heavily in his chair, dropping the pad on the table. So this is how it ends. Not with a fight, not with a vote, just quiet rules in the dark. Lena remained standing. It's strategic. If we react too loudly, they'll call it aggression. They already think we're the problem, James muttered. We follow the rules, and they call us dangerous. We break them, and they call us proof. There was silence. Then he looked up. Draft the walkout protocol. Begin the withdrawal procedures. Lena hesitated. You're sure? I'm tired of waiting for them to respect us, James said. They won't. Not as long as we sit at that table like a dog waiting for scraps. That evening, James walked alone to the far edge of Orbitus Prime's diplomatic wing. It was quieter there, a place where few others went. He activated a secure comm line and connected to Earth. A hologram of his daughter, Eliza, appeared. She was 19 now, a university student in Luna City. Her hair was tied up, her eyes tired but bright. Dad, she said, you're calling late. James gave a rare smile. I needed to hear a real voice for once. She smiled back. How's the galaxy? He sighed. Complicated. They're making decisions behind closed doors. Decisions that affect billions of lives. Are you okay? She asked, her voice gentler now. I'm tired, he admitted. Not physically, just tired of pretending this is working. I came here to speak for Earth, but I'm not sure anyone's been listening. You've done everything right, haven't you? She asked. I've done what I was told was right, he said. But maybe it's time to stop following broken rules. Eliza was quiet for a moment. Then she said, whatever happens, I'm proud of you. James looked at her face for a long moment. Thank you. That's what matters. He ended the call, feeling both heavier and lighter. The next morning, Earth's delegation received an emergency notice. A formal council vote had passed overnight, without discussion. Earth was now suspended from all advanced research exchanges. The motion claimed Earth's militarized posture created instability. It was the final insult. James summoned his team to the consulate's main conference room. The mood was tense, expectant. We have our answer, he said. They're not trying to correct us. They're trying to contain us. No one spoke. They didn't have to. I gave this council every chance, James continued. We were patient. We compromised. We cooperated. And what did it earn us? Isolation. Disrespect. Threats. This isn't unity. It's control. And I won't let Earth bow to it anymore. He paused, looking each of them in the eye. Tomorrow, he said, we walk. That night, James stood at the large observation window in his private quarters. The stars outside burned cold and quiet. The silence didn't comfort him. It pressed against him like the weight of everything he was about to do. He had never wanted to be the man who broke away. He believed in peace, in structure, in purpose. But peace without respect was slavery, and structure that denied fairness was just a prison. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow, the galaxy would change. The lights inside the Galactic Council chamber glowed brighter than usual. Every platform was occupied. Delegates from all corners of the galaxy had arrived in silence. The air felt heavier than normal, filled with something unspoken, something waiting. Commander James Carter stepped onto Earth's platform without hesitation. His uniform was crisp, his posture rigid. Behind him stood Lena, Colonel Harper, and 2 aides. None of them spoke. They didn't need to. At the chamber's center, Supreme Speaker Vartok rose slowly, towering above all others. His scaled face remained unreadable. His 4 arms were folded across his chest, his voice calm and cold. Before we begin today's scheduled matters, Vartok said, a motion has been submitted by Earth's delegation. Commander Carter, you may speak. James activated his mic. His voice echoed, not loud, but clear and steady. Honored members of this council, he began, this is not a threat. It is not a demand. It is not even a request. It is a statement of fact. He paused, letting the silence stretch. For decades, Earth has served this council. We have given our soldiers to peacekeeping missions. We have shared our knowledge, our trade, and our diplomacy. In return, we have been pushed further from the table. Our concerns have been ignored, our contributions forgotten, and our voice silenced. Some delegates shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned forward, listening more closely. We were promised equality. What we received was exclusion. We were promised peace. What we were given was surveillance and suspicion. James glanced around the chamber. Hundreds of eyes, some human-like, others entirely alien, watched him. So today, he continued, Earth withdraws from the Galactic Council. Effective immediately. Gasps filled the chamber. A few platforms went dark in response. Others blinked in confusion. Whispers broke out, translating across species, relayed in hundreds of languages. James did not flinch. This was not an easy choice, he said. But we will not remain at a table where our presence is merely tolerated, not respected. We leave not to divide, but to protect our dignity, to reclaim our right to choose our future. Vartok's voice broke through the murmurs. Earth's withdrawal is noted, he said. Be advised that such a decision severs all access to shared technology, trade protections, and defense alliances. You will stand alone. James stared at him. We've stood alone before. More silence. Vartok's eyes narrowed. You speak for all of Earth. James nodded once. Edo. Then, without another word, he turned. The Earth delegation followed. Their platform disengaged from the council ring and began to descend. As they moved away, the lights above their section dimmed, signaling Earth's official departure. Some delegates watched in silence. Others turned their heads. A few, very few, stood up quietly, their own gestures of solidarity. In the outer corridors of the council wing, the team walked quickly. No words passed between them. The finality of what they had done settled over them like a shadow. When they reached the shuttle bay, James turned to Lena. Any response from Earth? He asked. She nodded, handing him a device. A message flashed on the screen from Earth Command. Acknowledged. Full support confirmed. Operation Homebound in motion. James handed it back. Good. Let's go home. As the shuttle launched from Orbitus Prime, the station grew smaller behind them. James sat in silence, watching it fade into the dark. It still pulsed with light and power. But now, it was no longer Earth's home. No longer his battlefield. What happens now? Malik asked from across the cabin. James looked at him. Now, we show the galaxy what it means to stand without bending. No one replied. But in that silence, something began to take shape. A future not dictated by fear, but by choice. As the stars ahead glimmered, James Carter closed his eyes, not to rest, but to prepare. The shuttle drifted through space, moving steadily away from Orbitus Prime. Inside, the Earth delegation sat quietly, the hum of the engines the only sound. No one spoke. No one needed to. The decision had been made. History had shifted. Commander James Carter sat near the forward viewport, staring out at the stars. Orbitus Prime still glowed faintly in the distance, its ringed structure spinning slowly, now a symbol of the very unity Earth had left behind. But his thoughts weren't on the past. They were on what came next. Suddenly, Lena's voice broke the silence. Message incoming. Priority level, urgent. From the council. James turned his head, brows narrowing. Put it through. A hologram flickered into life above the console. Supreme Speaker Vartok's image appeared, his massive form towering even in projection. His tone was sharp but composed. Commander Carter, the council requests your immediate presence. An emergency session has been called. You are invited to return and explain Earth's position one final time, in the spirit of interstellar diplomacy. James stared at the projection. It was not a request, it was a test. They want a spectacle, Harper muttered. They want to parade us back in and make us bow. James stood up slowly. No, they want to see if we'll break. He turned to Lena. Turn the shuttle around. One last time. The council chamber was at full capacity when James Carter stepped inside again. Delegates sat stiffly on their platforms. Lights flickered above each seat. The room buzzed with tension. The Earth delegation moved to their now darkened platform. It had been shut off after their withdrawal. But Carter stood in the open center below the speaker's podium. Vartok rose, arms folded, voice cold and echoing. Commander Carter, your earlier actions represent a serious breach of protocol. Earth's departure has created waves of uncertainty across the galaxy. Smaller worlds are questioning their place. Trade routes are hesitating. Confidence in the council is weakening. James said nothing. Vartok continued. This is your opportunity to retract Earth's statement, to rejoin us, to restore order. James stepped forward, his voice steady. There is no order built on silence. No unity in a council that chooses fear over fairness. You ask us to return, but nothing has changed. You still speak over us. Still make rules behind closed doors. Still treat us as if we're a threat, when all we wanted was respect. He looked around the chamber, his eyes meeting delegates across the circle. We gave you decades of loyalty. You gave us warnings, weapons pointed at our borders, and lies. Earth will not return to that table. Not now. Not ever. The room fell quiet. Even Vartok did not speak. James took one more step forward. But we are not your enemy. Earth does not wish for war. We wish for sovereignty. Peace on our own terms. The galaxy is big enough for all of us. We will stand apart, but not against. A murmur passed through the chamber. Some platforms dimmed in disapproval. Others flickered uncertainly. And a few, just a few, glowed brighter. Silent support. Vartok stared down at James. You walk away from unity. James replied, I walk toward truth. There was no vote, no agreement, no resolution. James Carter turned and walked out of the chamber, the sound of his footsteps echoing behind him. The return shuttle lifted from Orbitus Prime for the last time. As it passed the station's perimeter, James sat again by the viewport. Lena sat beside him. They'll talk about this for years, she said. Let them, James replied. Do you think anyone else will follow us? Some will, he said. Not now, but eventually, when they see the truth. He looked at the stars again. This time they didn't seem so cold. We didn't lose anything today, he said quietly. We chose who we are. And with that, he sat back, watching as Orbitus Prime disappeared into the distance, a relic of the past. The shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, streaking across the sky like a silent torch returning home. Below, the planet was awake. Cities flickered with lights. Spaceports pulsed with activity. News channels, satellites, and communication hubs were all reporting the same message. Earth had left the Galactic Council. Commander James Carter stood at the front of the cabin, watching through the window as blue oceans and sprawling continents came into view. It had been a long journey, not just in distance, but in purpose and belief. They landed at the Unity base, Earth's largest spaceport, just outside Geneva. Crowds had already gathered behind security barriers. Journalists, civilians, military personnel, even protesters. Everyone wanted to see the man who had walked away from the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. James stepped off the shuttle in full uniform, his expression unreadable. The cameras blinked to life. People shouted questions. Some cheered, some booed. The world was divided. But he had expected that. Lena walked beside him, datapad in hand. Public response is mixed, she said quietly. There are protests in New York and Osaka, celebrations in Nairobi, Mars Colony, and Luna City. James gave a slight nod. It was never going to be easy. They entered the command building, passing through secured checkpoints. Inside, Earth Command leadership waited. Admiral Ruiz, Prime Director Halen, and representatives from Earth colonies were gathered in the war room. James walked to the center, facing them all. We're no longer part of the council, he said. Our voice is our own again. That means responsibility, real responsibility. No more relying on someone else to defend us or dictate our choices. We protect ourselves now. We shape our future. Halen spoke, her voice firm. Many in the council believe we've weakened ourselves. Then they don't know us at all, James said. We haven't lost power. We've reclaimed control. Ruiz folded her arms. There's already chatter. Some minor systems are reaching out. They're asking what comes next, asking what kind of leadership Earth plans to offer. James was quiet for a moment. We're not here to replace the council, he said. We're not here to build another empire. We'll help where help is asked. We'll trade with fairness. We'll defend what's ours. But we won't become what we just left behind. Everyone nodded. No applause. No speeches. Just shared understanding. That night, James stood alone on the balcony of his temporary residence overlooking Lake Geneva. The water shimmered in the moonlight. The air was crisp, calm. He looked up at the stars, bright and endless. So many of those stars were home to beings who had once been allies. Some would remain so, others would not. But Earth had taken its first step into a new era, an era of independence, uncertainty, and promise. Lena stepped onto the balcony behind him. She handed him a small data chip. This just came in, a secure message from the Ventari system. James raised an eyebrow. The Ventari? They're asking for dialogue. Quietly. Off the record. James took the chip and smiled faintly. The first crack in their wall. He looked back at the stars. We're being watched, Lena, he said. Every world out there is waiting to see if we fail or if we prove that freedom can survive without permission. She didn't say anything, just stood beside him in silence. James closed his eyes for a moment. He hadn't wanted this path, but now that they were on it, he would walk it fully. For Earth, for its future, for all those who believed in the right to be heard. He opened his eyes and whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Let them watch. And so Earth stood alone, but not afraid. The stars were no longer silent judges. They were the path forward.